Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. I am Oji Akbi. Our next guest is the head of marketing and promotions for Trace TV, Lannery Masha. Trace was responsible for partnering with the French embassy to bring French President Macron to the shrine last month for a night of cultural exhibition, dance, and music. Lannery is here to tell us all about the partnership. Welcome, Lannery.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, so tell us, how did that all come about?
Yeah, so initially we actually did an event with the French president in Ghana, which was our Trace Meets Macron, which was like the first time he came to Africa.
Yes.
So we had a conversation with the youth and had a Twitter challenge where and just people asked questions on Twitter. So the conversation came from the French embassy when he was actually making a trip to Nigeria, and he was going to announce the launch of the 2020 initiative that France is working on. So the 2020 initiative is like a cultural exchange between France and Africa, in a sense, like it's just a better relationship from cultural aspects of it, from fashion, music, arts, overall. So we ideally was like the most fit company to do it, right? Because we are a French company. Trace is a French company.
Right, my friend Claude started that
company.
Yeah.
He's one of the founders of Trace in itself. So it was a natural fit. So once the conversation started, it was like, you know what, let's do it. And then ideally, funny enough, it was actually the French team that suggested the shrine.
Wow.
Yeah, they suggested the shrine.
It wasn't even you guys.
No, we gave options, right? And they said, you know what, we want the shrine, right? And it was like, and this is a better, and if you know anything about the French culture, they're actually closer to more of that African side of anything. So we initially had a hotel, a few other venues, but they liked the shrine best. And we're like, you know what, this makes sense. I was a little nervous initially, like, how do we execute this?
Did they do anything different in the shrine for that event?
Yeah, you know, funny enough, when we first started, we said, you know what, we're gonna paint the shrine, we're gonna put all these new furniture in, and then when we sent this back to them, it was like, you know what, let's keep it as natural as possible.
So everything was just the same?
For the most part, everything was pretty much the same at the shrine.
What did you guys change?
The Lagos State actually came in and actually improved a few things. One, like the bathrooms and a couple of
I've been to the shrine once in my life.
Some basic amenities to make sure at least 1,000 people coming there will be comfortable, because we had about 1,400 people roughly that came to the event. So we changed a little bit, like but not much at all.
Okay, and so you're the head of marketing.
Yes.
And when did you start this when did you start being the head for Trace TV? And how did you get involved with Trace TV? Just your own personal side.
Funny enough, I was having a conversation with Banky out there earlier. Initially, I was working for PepsiCo in America before I moved back. And when I came back, I was just trying to find what I was going to do. And when I came back, I said I'm dividing my life into a few different things: music, culture, art, design. And then Sam, who's the MD of Trace now, reached out. We were just having a spirited conversation. Like, you know, what are you doing? Like, I have a position open, and we met, and that's how I got started in Trace. This was roughly about 3 years ago. So I've been with Trace for almost 3 years now.
Oh, wow. And so are you guys planning any other type of events like this with the French embassy?
So there's a lot of things that we were working to do over the next couple of years, even for the Agenda 2020 as well, to be a part of it. We are working on building more of a better relationship on the French side, because you know, urban culture in France is actually not as strong as it is, right? So there was an article that I read, actually I think it was Trevor Noah, that was talking about
We talked about that earlier today.
Yeah. It was talking about the French team, right? The French team that won, they probably 80% Africans. But
80%.
when there's an issue or there's crime or there's unemployment, is the immigrants.
Right.
But when you do something well, it's the French citizens, right?
Yes.
So there's a situation that they need to fix in France, right? About this African relationship with French. So we are working to also be a part of that, because it's a good relationship for our company to be a French company, and what we do in Africa across, especially on the Francophone side of the business.
So are you guys planning any type of events in France, or like?
Yeah, so the Agenda 2020. Well,
what is it called?
The Agenda 2020.
Agenda 2020.
Yeah. There's going to be a cultural event in France that's going to happen, and there's going to be a lot of African artists going to France as
So
well.
it's just African artists in general, not just Nigerian artists?
Yeah,
or
African in
like
general. Yeah, not just Nigerian, so across Africa.
Okay, so
Yeah.
where can people find out about this event, and where on social media can they go on this event?
Yeah, the first point of contact for Nigerian art
Yes.
is just to go to Trace Nigeria,
Trace
Nigeria, or go to trace.tv.
Okay.
So we'll be giving information on anything that we're doing on that site from now.
Okay. You know, we're going to come back
Okay.
and we're going to discuss a lot of things that could help Africans
Okay.
to partner more in collaborations like this. And so we'll take a short break, and we'll be back on the morning show.
Nigeria. We are 198 million productive people with over 900,000 square kilometers of fertile land. Nigeria's banking system has emerged strong and resilient from the 2016 crisis, which has enhanced our productivity in agribusiness and manufacturing. Come, invest in Nigeria's agribusiness, manufacturing, and value-added mining. Enjoy the Central Bank of Nigeria-led initiatives in funding interventions, stabilized exchange rate, friendly capital repatriation regime, and many more. The Central Bank of Nigeria's robust monetary policy and interventions under President Buhari's administration had positioned the economy to target and attain a GDP growth of 6% with a strong and growing external reserves. Come, invest in Nigeria. Nigeria, ready for business.
Welcome back to the morning show. The value of European and African culture exchange has been our focus of today. The ultimate question is, what does it really mean for Africa? How can we ensure that we as Africans are getting the most from the exchanges and not just giving or having it to be one-sided? What do you think? We're gonna start.
Okay, so here's what I think. I think that as Trace, as we at Trace, because I was part of the event, as we showed,
Yes.
I think that there's a lot of potential for the relationship between Africa and France and Europe in general.
Yes.
And I think that it's a fantastic, great thing that's coming to the forefront, that we have these relationships with France, with the government, to open doors for an exchange of culture, an exchange of revenue, an exchange of ideas. And that's a beautiful thing, because the world is becoming a smaller place. I also, however, think that as Africans, we need to look inwards.
Yes.
I think
Most
that
important thing.
that Africa needs to be the one to save itself. Nigeria needs to be the one to save itself. So we shouldn't always just be looking. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I think that we should, as a country and as a continent, we should be looking inwards. Say, listen, in Nigeria, we have 200 million people. We have to do this for ourselves. No country or government outside is going to come in and fix us. We have to be the ones to fix ourselves. We have to be the ones to play the roles that are needed to be part of the progress that we want to see.
And I think Macron actually said that we
he
need to
said that.
do
Yes.
things for Africans,
Yeah.
by Africans,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
And
And I think it starts, like as Banky said, it starts from home, right? I think there's a saying that says, starts from within to rebuild your original
Yes.
greatness, right? So we have to start looking inwards for anything. Before we go out and represent anything, we need to know who we are, what we are doing, what we stand for, because even if we go anywhere, Paris, London,
Right.
America, wherever it is, if you don't have an identity,
Right.
there's those cultural places are really, they're cultural havens, right? They will soak you up into that culture, and you can lose your own identity when you go there. So it's really important for you to have a grasp of who we are,
Right.
and we start from
so
home.
starting from where? What would you say
So
would be
here's
like
here's
the
what I would
starting
say
point?
the starting point right
Right.
now, today. INEC has just announced that the new date for you, if you haven't registered for a voter's card ever before, if
Right.
you've never registered for one, your last opportunity to register for one before the next election is August 17th,
Yeah.
right? So that's the new deadline. So you have less than a month.
Less than a month,
If you've
guys.
never gotten your voter's card
than
to
a
get
month.
it. And I talk to young people all the time. Most of the time I'm in a room and I say, oh, how many people have their voter's card?
Yeah.
It's usually like a small percentage.
No, it's so serious. When my girlfriends and I go out and have drinks or something, and we even talk to the waitress, do you have a PVC? Do you have a PVC? Do you have a
Yes.
PVC? This is
And-
what we all have to do. I
And
think.
here's the thing with that. A lot of times, the number one complaint I get when
Yes.
people say, oh, I'm not going to register to vote, is they
Right.
say, oh, I don't like any of the candidates. I don't know who I want to vote for, so I'm not going to bother.
Yeah.
And I say that that basically means that you are willing to give your voice away because you don't
Yes,
yet know what you want to say.
Exactly.
You know, don't give it away because you don't know what you say. At least be part of the number so that if you decide later at some point that you want to be, just get it first. Get it first, and then let's all sit down together and say, okay, this makes sense or
Yes.
that doesn't make sense. But if you don't get it, you're not even part of the conversation, and they have no reason to answer to you. I'll say this last
100%.
thing.
Yes, go ahead.
Some of the issues, we were talking earlier about Fela's music
Yes,
and
right.
how the issues have been the same since the 70s. They're the same or worse, right? I'll give you an example of an issue that affects young people, SARS, the police force. You know, some on like really evil members of the police.
Banky,
You have no time.
I'm going to have you come back on the set.
Get your voter's card.
Okay, go. Okay, just
Get your voter's
okay,
card.
go on. No, so just finish this whole conversation.
Okay, let me just finish this
whole
SARS.
thing real quick. Yes.
So, it is I personally feel that it is a disgrace to us as a country that a certain group, I'm not saying the whole police force is bad, but a certain group of them are
Yes.
beating and killing and
Yes.
extorting young
Yes.
people. But why hasn't there been like a massive investigation into these stories? Why? Because there's no political will to say, oh, this is affecting young people. So if we don't come together as young people
Larry,
and say
do you
we're
agree
going
with
to
that?
do
Yeah,
it,
the point I was going to make,
100%, right?
the point I was going to make is that, like, as you were saying about not using your voice,
Yes.
and that voice is a very powerful voice because if you look
Most
at the
important
numbers,
thing is
it's
your
about
voice.
65% of the population
Yeah.
is under 25.
Yeah.
So that means that if 65% say today,
So
we
let's
are
all
going to
tell
change.
all of them. Let's tell everyone
Under
watching
35.
today.
Yeah, under
everyone
35,
should
right?
get their
Yeah.
PVC. That's
Yeah,
what we're
just
getting out of this
be a
thing.
part of the movement,
Be a part
of the
of the
change that you want to see,
conversation,
be a
and-
part of the progress.
And we are going to see change. Well, thank you guys so much for coming. And I'm going to have Banky and Larry come back and talk more about this topic on our set. Oh, thanks, guys. Well, that brings us to the end of the morning show today. Thank you for watching. From my entire team and I here in Lagos, enjoy the rest of your morning and, of course, the rest of your day. Goodbye.